Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad to welcome you as part of our community tonight. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and distributed live stream. By entering this virtual meeting room, you give your consent to be recorded and distributed by Simeon Moro, EU, and other third parties. If you prefer to not be recorded, please turn off your microphone and/or camera and/or go to the Facebook Live video feed, the link to which I will now place in the chat room. For a better experience, please turn off your microphone and set your video to gallery view. Tonight, our featured guests are Father Andrea Ciucci, Coordinating Secretary of the Pontifical Academy for Life, who joins us from the Vatican City-State, and Sarah Roversi, founder of the Future Food Institute, who joins us from Bologna, Italy. Also joining us tonight is Professor Lino Rivera of St. Mary's College of California. Father Andrea, welcome. Sarah, welcome.
Welcome, everybody.
So,
Thank you so much for inviting us.
With pleasure. So, Father Andrea, tell us a little bit about yourself and your work.
Oh, about myself. I am 54. I was born in Milan. I'm Italian. I'm a Catholic priest. And after 20 years spent in the pastoral care in different parishes in Milan, I started to work in Vatican City, and I have been working since 2011, first at the Pontifical Council for the Family, and my work was to organize the World Meeting of Families. I organized the World Meeting of Milan, and then Philadelphia, and then Dublin. And in 2016, I changed the office. I started to serve as a CEO at the Pontifical Academy for Life. And it's a great adventure, really a great adventure. But at the same time, I work and serve in a parish in the outbound of Rome, where I live, and I'm here now. I'm a good cook, yeah. And I wrote a lot of books, but the most beautiful are the books dedicated to children. Yes.
Children's books.
Yeah, children's books, the best.
So you'll have to tell us about that more later. So Sarah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a strange entrepreneur. I started doing businesses together with my husband. We were still studying more than 20 years ago. And at some point back in 2012, I was joining for the first time the G20. I was one of the members of one of the task force of the young entrepreneurs joining those kind of summit. And for the first time, I had really the feeling that I was not doing enough. And I started really understanding what was the responsibility of all the people working in the food system, because actually every task force was talking about impacts that the food industry is doing on climate, on health, on many of the issues that we're facing. And I started this journey of building an ecosystem, because Future Food Institute is an ecosystem, with the aim of breaking the silos and really seeing the food as something that can connect people, that can create communities, and through food really to tackle all the challenges that we are facing. And so now the Future Food Institute is an ecosystem that is located in different parts of the world, so Europe, Japan, and US in San Francisco. And basically we work on knowledge with our academy in research initiatives. We have different living labs, and so we do a lot of programs with local communities, and we have some B Corp that are helping industries and startups to accelerate the transition towards the sustainable development framework. So this is a little bit what we do.
So why did you found the Future Food Institute? Because you felt, like you said, that there was not enough attention being paid to certain aspects of food sustainability?
Yeah, basically, because at least I'm coming from Bologna. So Bologna is the city of food, and everything talk about food. Everyone talk about food. Every street is talking about food. But actually, we have been always focused on protecting traditions. Probably sometimes being frustrated on thinking that innovation can become something that can damage our tradition without seeing in innovation really the crucial tool that we need to preserve those traditions and to bring those traditions to the future and deliver and leave them as a legacy to the future generations. And so I started really connecting industries, startuppers, scientists, and really mapping out which were the tools and the technological application that could really help the food industry to drive this transition. Because anyway, when we're talking about food, we have to think that we as the food industry, we are counting for 1/3 of the global gas emission, the 70% of the world water available is used just to produce food, when we know that adopting smart farming technologies, we can preserve the 90% of the water, or many, many paradoxes that you can see in the food system. So there are so many things that can be tackled, just innovating in the food system, rebooting the food system, and giving value to all the different people working in food. Because anyway, food is life, culture, identity, rituals, community. So food has many, many, many values.
Understood.
Yeah.
So would you consider yourself a think tank?
Also, not only, because we do
Okay.
also, we're not just thinking, also we do a lot. So we are a think
Fantastic.
and do tank.
Wonderful. So Father Andrea, tell us a little bit about the Pontifical Academy for Life.
Pontifical Academy for Life is it was called a think tank, the bioethical think tank of Catholic Church in the past. Actually, the Academy is a group of 160 members, academicians from all over the world, great scientists. We have a Nobel Prize, for example. We have the president of some of the most important universities in the world. We have different scientists in different knowledges. And it's a group of scientists who think that their works are useful to protect human life. And 4 years ago, Pope Francis renewed the Academy and asked to the Academy and to the academicians two things. The first thing is, please, you must work about human life, and human life is not a Catholic topic, but is the topic for everybody. And so please work with everybody. And so is a Catholic academy, but many scientists are not Catholic, neither Christian, but sometimes some are Jewish or Muslims. There are Taoist members, there are no believers members, for example, and with different cultural traditions, with from different nations, because human life is a topic for everyone. And the second indication by Pope Francis was that we must protect human life not only in the first 5 minutes or in the last 5 minutes of the word. And so, for example, classic bioethics topics like abortion, thevet, or euthanasia, for example, or assisted suicide. But please help and protect the human life during all the life, not only the first 5 minutes, not only the last 5 minutes, but all the life, because all the life of the man must, of every man and every woman in the world must be protected. And so, please, not only bioethicist, not only theologian, not only philosopher, not only medicine, but also sociologists, economists, because human life is really complex. And so the Academy is a place where different traditions and different part of human knowledge can discuss together, can work together to promote every human life. And moreover, the weakest human life, the little one in the world. So this is our work, and we have a central office in Vatican, and where we try to manage the work of these academicians, and where we promote academic activities focused on probably the most important challenges that science are trying to manage in this time. This is a very interesting work, because every day I have the possibility to meet the most important experts in very many different parts of science, and every day I can learn a lot of things.
Fantastic. So let's take a look now at the principal topic that we'll be discussing tonight, or this morning, or this afternoon, which is namely the Rome Call. Fantastic. So tell us a little bit, Father Andrea, about this Rome Call that was 1 year ago, and exactly how it came about, what it's all about, and what it has to do with the Academy for Life.
4 years ago, we started to renew the Academy, and we discussed with many scientists in the world from many different culture and tradition. And we discovered that new technologies are changing our world, the human life. And in all the sciences, this topic appears. And so we started to work about the influence of new technologies on human life. And in particular, about the influence of artificial intelligence on human life. This is our discovery. And we start to work about this topic. And we discovered that there were a lot of people really interested in a reflection about an anthropological vision of artificial intelligence, and in consequence, of an ethical vision of artificial intelligence. We met a lot of engineers, for example, or informatic, and they told us we have really a very strong and powerful machine, but we must discuss together how we want to use this powerful instrument we have. And people absolutely not Catholic nor religious told us we need religions in this reflection. We need Catholic Church in this reflection. And so we start to work, and we start to work with some of the most important subjects in the world. You can see, you saw in the video, for example, the first signatures of this call is the president of Microsoft, the vice president of IBM, for example, to companies, two of the most important companies in the world. We have the general director of FAO, that is one of the most important UN agency in the world. We had the president of the European Parliament. Different subjects, but all involved in this reflection. We need an anthropological and an ethical reflection on new technologies. The first fruit of this reflection was this document, the Rome Call for AI Ethics, in which we summarized in very few pages, 4 pages, some points and some words, and we propose to this subject and whoever want to sign this declaration. Okay, we want to build, to project, to realize, to make an artificial intelligence with an ethical vision. And the news of 2 weeks ago was that Stanford University every year produce a report about artificial intelligence. And this year dedicated a chapter of this report about the ethical reflection on artificial intelligence. And the news is that during 2020, there were 5 events, the most important 5 events about artificial intelligence and ethics are different, but one of these is exactly the Rome Call for Ethics, because
fantastic.
Yes, one of the 5 most important event in artificial intelligence and ethics.
Let's take a look now at what happened 1 year after and what those signatories, like you said, are saying.
Ad un anno dalla Rome Call for AI Ethics siamo ancora più convinti dell'importanza di un documento che venga firmato da più istituzioni possibili, perché un progresso che non tenga conto del bene comune integrale di ogni singola persona e dell'intera famiglia umana rischia di essere negativo, distruttivo persino. Ecco perché abbiamo anche aperto dei contatti, delle possibilità di firme anche da parte delle altre regioni mondiali, perché siamo convinti che di fronte al pericolo di una algocrazia è indispensabile promuovere una algoretica, ossia una tecnica che sia al servizio dell'uomo e non viceversa.
From February 28, 2020 to now, 1 year later, the tables of values and the impact areas of the Rome Call have become the beating heart of this call and have been translated into action of dissemination throughout society.
Hello, I'm Brad Smith, the president of Microsoft, and I'm delighted to be part of this first anniversary of the Rome Call for AI and Ethics. A year ago, we came together with Monsignor Paglia and we heeded Pope Francis's call to put technology in broad perspective to ensure that we all go forward in a principled way, that we honor the 6 fundamental principles in the Rome Call, that we ensure that technology serves humanity, that we ensure that people come together to think about technology and the planet as well. Ultimately, I believe the Rome Call will be even more important as we come out of the COVID-19 pandemic. More than ever, we need to ensure that we're thinking broadly, ethically, and about the future. The Rome Call helps us on that path. Thank you.
The pandemic highlighted the importance of the digital world, and along with this, the urgency of shaping this same world with ethical principle and action that protect the rights of every human being.
Okay, great. So with that, I believe we have some questions. Professor Lino Rivera.
Yes, Father Andrea, this is of very good interest to me with regards to the ethics and artificial intelligence. Let me preface my question with this. I read this book by Yuval Noah Harari, and he dealt a little bit about the artificial intelligence, especially in self-driving cars. I'm going to be specific with this example. Nowadays, we can have, and the technology is actually here present in us about self-driving cars. So he proposed that there are two possibilities for these self-driving cars. And one would be the altruistic programming of the artificial intelligence. That means to say it's going to protect, the car is going to protect people like children, it's going to try to avoid uh, going through or killing children or women or elderly people. And then the other choice is the egoistic version of this artificial intelligence, wherein at all costs, this car is going to protect its passenger. So it doesn't matter whether there's children crossing the street, if it's going to try to protect its passenger, it will kill, under all circumstances, the other people out there. So, what is the church's and what is your opinion regarding this matter? Because it is a dilemma. Since ethics is now going to be involved within the microchip of this new technology that we are having.
The dilemma proposed by Harari is one of the most famous ethical dilemma in artificial intelligence discussion. And but we have the same dilemma in our conscience when we drive a car, because sometimes we are in the situation and we must decide if to go on the right and maybe kill some children, or turn on the left, but with the risk to kill myself. It's the same. The ethical structure is a continuous proposal of choices. We must choose, but the choices are not simple. Usually the choices in the human life are really very complex, because we are not alone in the world, but we are in a trauma, in so many relationships that are connected. We are connected each other. And every decision has some consequences for other people. Every decision we made every day. And so ethical perspective is a very complex perspective. And we have no simple solutions. So, for example, I have no solution about the dilemma of the self-driving car, but because we have no solution, no simple solution for our decisions. We are complex, and we live in a very complex society. And so I think that one of the great service that Catholic Church, for example, can produce and offer to the world is to help people to understand that our life is complex, articulate, always connected, and that we have no simple recipes to solve the problems of our life. It's really complex. The passage from the decision made by a man to a decision made by a car or an artificial system is a passage that introduces not a new responsibility, but that focus the responsibilities that we had always had. This is, I think, the question. Luciano Floridi is one of the most important European philosophers that work on this. He works in Oxford. Says that the system, or the artificial intelligence system, are like a wash machine. very, very, very perfect wash, but are wash machine. So the ethics is not in the wash machine. The ethic, the problem, the ethic dilemma is in the man, in the woman who project, realize, and use this machine.
Fantastic. So let's begin now our roundtable, which will be about this document that was signed by the parties of the Rome Call. It's divided into 4 parts: an introduction, ethics, education, and finally rights. So I will read a citation from each part and we'll discuss it accordingly. So the first part, Rome Call for AI Ethics Introduction. Artificial intelligence, AI, is bringing about profound changes in the lives of human beings, and it will continue to do so. AI offers enormous potential when it comes to improving social coexistence and personal well-being, augmenting human capabilities, and enabling or facilitating many tasks that can be carried out more efficiently and effectively. However, these results are by no means guaranteed. The transformations currently underway affect the way these tasks are carried out and the way in which we perceive reality and human nature itself. So much so that they can influence our mental and interpersonal habits. New technology must be researched and produced in accordance with criteria that ensure it truly serves the entire quote-unquote human family, respecting the inherent dignity of each of its members and all natural environments, and taking into account the needs of those who are most vulnerable. The aim is not only to ensure that no one is excluded, but also to expand those areas of freedom that could be threatened by algorithmic conditioning. So Sarah, tell us, algorithmic conditioning doesn't sound like a common term in the Vatican.
Maybe it doesn't sound like a common term in the Vatican, but for sure, if we have to think about the challenges I was talking before, those tools can help us to take the right decision. If we are thinking about the massive impact of farming and on the system and how much those kind of technologies can guide and educate us or farmers or chefs to take the right decisions, but also us as a consumer. If I'm thinking about food, food is a very, very complex system. And every time you are taking a decision related to food, even if you have to feed someone or if you are producing food, every single decision can have impacts on the environment, impact on the health of people. And sometimes you don't have all the information to take the right decision. So I strongly believe that technology can play a crucial role in all of that. Of course, if we're thinking about Italy, we are lucky. We live in a beautiful country. We have to support traditional farming, the farm to fork strategy, all the small producers and so on. But we have to remember that we have to feed 10 billion people. And so the adoption of technologies that can help us to scale up the sustainable models is absolutely crucial. So technology, of course, is welcome, and we need technology that is helping us to take the right decision, but with principles that are based on values and ethical principles. So I think that nowadays we are overexposed to the Sustainable Development Goals. This framework and the indicator of the Sustainable Development Goals are, say, mainstream in every industry, in every sector nowadays. But I think that also we have to start to read all of those goals and indicators with other lens. And technology is must follow all of those approach. I'm now reading the SDGs under the lens of integral ecology. If you read the Sustainable Development Goals under the framework of integral ecology, you understand how much the Sustainable Development Goals are all interconnected, because when you think about sustainability and ecology, you have to think in a systemic way. You have to think about the political aspect, the economical aspect, the cultural aspect, the human aspect, the societal aspects, and also the environmental aspects. So we need tools to accelerate the comprehension of this complexity.
Fantastic. So Father Andrea, in the Vatican, one of the oldest institutions in the West, in the Western world, they talk about algorithmic conditioning. Is it not a little bit outside of the competencies of that institution?
No, in other size, yes, of course, is a new fold because, but Catholic Church has always worked about everything that change it has an impact on human life. And so today, the most important, the most strong impact on human life is made by artificial intelligence and new technologies. I use two little examples to explain this change. The first is that with this object, I used this object about around 3 hours ago, but in these 3 hours, I used this object to pray. I'm a Catholic priest, I'm sorry. Okay, so I pray, no, but also to buy a book or to search a place and a map, a road to arrive in a map, to buy a ticket of the bus, or to show a boarding pass. I use the same object to play music, to relax with a game. And sometimes I use this phone also to call someone with the phone. Yes, of course, a few times in the day, you know. So this is not a joke. This object has changed not all our life, but the way in which we stay in the world. For it simplified a lot our works, but this is a very complex subject, also a very expensive object. No, we spend. So the second example is that I didn't found in the box of the smartphone the instruction, the book of instruction. Our generation was used to find that book, not this one. Why? Because new generation are not used to read a text with instruction about how to use a smartphone. They have another approach. New generation are used to try. They try and learn. Not a deductive way, but an inductive way, an experience way. New technologies are changing our way to learn and to understand the world. This is bad? No, not necessary. This is good. Sometimes we hope to, we must work to promote the good opportunities that new technologies are offering us. At the same time, we must be aware that there are a lot of problems.
Understood. So let's go on, run on to our next roundtable number 2, ethics. In order for technological advancement to align with true progress for the human race and respect for the planet, it must meet 3 requirements. It must include every human being, discriminating against no one. It must have the good of mankind and the good of every human being at its heart. Finally, it must be mindful of the complex reality of our ecosystem and be characterized by the way in which it cares for and protects the planet, our quote unquote common and shared home, with a highly sustainable approach, which also includes the use of artificial intelligence for ensuring sustainable food systems in the future. Moreover, each person must be aware when he or she is interacting with a machine. AI-based technology must never be used to exploit people in any way, especially those who are the most vulnerable. Instead, it must be used to help people develop their abilities. empowerment, and enablement, in other words, and to support the planet. Sarah, is that in line with your thinking at the Future Food Institute?
Sorry, I was in mute. Yeah, definitely. And let's say, I think that now it's a time in history in which we have to highlight all of those concepts, because we need to feed our mind and our soul again about those topics. And we need to start to spread those topics also out of the conferences where we generally talk. We need to expose youth, young generations, industry leaders, policy leaders, talk about these issues. Ethic is not something that have been part of the normal conversations in the last decade, I would say. Now, under the lens of the pandemic, I think that everything has been accelerated. Now, tell me, Simeon.
If you're in Bologna, I can't tell you, I guess the Bolognese pasta sauce, maybe that probably comes from Bologna. And so if I'm making this Bolognese pasta sauce, do I need to take an ethics course? What ethical decisions might affect?
I think, yeah.
Eat that?
And I think, yeah, and I tell you something. I think we need to create a process that helps people to do sense making. I tell you just a small anecdote. Some years ago, let's talk about Bolognese sauce. Some years ago, I decided to invite in Bologna a startup that is a Canadian startup that was mind-blowing from my perspective, because those guys invented the Bolognese sauce made with crickets. And I was super fascinated about them. Why? Because they are in Canada. They wanted to enter in the American market, and they chose the Bolognese sauce because Bolognese sauce for them represents something that connects with families. Because they told me you can find Bolognese sauce in every food desert or everywhere. Very terrible Bolognese sauce, canned Bolognese sauce, but in every place in the US you find a Bolognese sauce. And they said, we want to touch the heart of families. And they decided not to enter with a snack, with a chip, or with an energetic bar, but they said food is family, food is community, food is connection. I invited them in Bologna. I don't even tell you what the newspapers were writing about me. Everybody was just seeing, oh, we have the crazy lady talking about food innovation that want to sell the Bolognese sauce made with crickets to Bolognese people. And so people said, oh my goodness, this is a terrible thing. No, it's not a terrible thing. And you need to understand the sense behind choices. And I was very fascinated. Why? Because Bolognese people just was analyzing the surface. Everybody's talking about the food of the future, and so everybody should eat cricket. No, the meaning of my decision of inviting them to present their idea in Bologna was really to stimulate reflections on Bolognese people, because they don't even understand the power they have. If people normally think that Bolognese sauce in the US means family, community, and connection, this is a perfect tool for marketing, for promoting our country, is a soft power. I was not inviting them because I love to eat Bolognese sauce made with cricket.
Absolutely.
And behind that, there are many different important values that people is not watching. People is just analyzing the surface. So I think that this year,
you mentioned on your website that the social importance of food, and like you say, that we don't realize actually what an occasion it is that families or people come together to eat, and that's they think about the eating, but the coming together is just as integral as a part of that. So tell us quickly, if you could, what is a food desert?
Food desert is a place that basically is not offering nutrients and food to people. So are places that are not offering fresh fruits, fresh foods, and so on, where you just find hyper preserved and processed food. Food desert, also Newark. You think New York is a super cool city, but if you go in Newark, you have to take a long ride to find a good supermarket where you can find fresh veggies, as well as the Bronx. The startup Green Bronx Machine, founded by Stephen Reitz, was very, very revolutionary. Why? Because it started to teach kids to grow food with smart farming system in schools, in the Bronx, in a place where a family, if they wanted to buy lettuce or tomato, fresh tomato, they had to take like 5 stops of the subway. Makes no
Understood.
sense.
So,
And they could just buy Doritos everywhere, Coca-Cola and Doritos. So this is a food desert. So thinking about bringing back the value of food, the value of growing food, the value of sharing food. And here technology play a role, but technology is always just a tool. And we need to invest a lot in bringing back the sense, the values, and the ethics behind our choices.
understood. So in other words, the food deserts, it's mainly for people in lower income areas, people with less money who don't have the option or are not made, or they don't have awareness of how to eat well and get proper nutrition. Father Andrea, so ethics, this sounds something about...
I was thinking that Sarah pronounced a few minutes ago gastronomic blasphemy. Okay, US Bolognese sauce. Oh my God. You are blasphemy. But
with crickets.
But at the same time, Sarah underlined that we must discover, not introduce, but discover a discussion about values, not only in normal topics, normal ethical discussion, but in the normal life, in the human life, values in the Bolognese sauce. Okay, what's the value? It's strange, you know? in a sauce, a value, yeah. And in everything, we have values. And in everything of our life, we are called to make a decision, to engage our freedom. I think this is the point. No, every day, every man, every woman must choose what to do. And at the same time, and this is one of the most important problems with new technologies, artificial intelligence, we must protect this freedom, because sometimes we have some technological system or economical systems or sociological system that reduce our freedom. This is our work, to protect freedom, to permit to everybody to choose the better for their life, and the better for the life of their sons, of children, and the future of the future of their families and of the world, entire world.
Fantastic. So moving on to our next theme, the Rome Call for AI Ethics Education. Transforming the world through the innovation of AI means undertaking to build a future for and with younger generations. This undertaking must be reflected in a commitment to education, developing specific curricula that span different disciplines in the humanities, science, and technology, and taking responsibility for educating younger generations. This commitment means working to improve the quality of education that young people receive. This must be delivered via methods that are accessible to all, that do not discriminate, and that can offer equality of opportunity and treatment. Universal access to education must be achieved through principles of solidarity and fairness. Access to lifelong learning must be guaranteed also for the elderly, who must be offered the opportunity to access offline services during the digital and technological transition. Moreover, these technologies can prove enormously useful in helping people with disabilities to learn and become more independent. Inclusive education, therefore, also means using AI to support and integrate each and every person, offering help and opportunities for social participation. For example, remote working for those with limited mobility, technological support for those with cognitive disabilities, etc. The main aim of this education must be to raise awareness of the opportunities and also the possible critical issues posed by AI from the perspective of social inclusion and individual respect. So Sarah, this education also has a big role at the Future Food Institute.
Yes, education has a crucial role at the Future Food Institute and is part of our set of values, because one of our values is really to be a daiji forever. So be always a learner and put yourself also always in the position of learning. I completely agree with every single word of the call. And I want to add something, that we need to start to focus not only on the people we are educating, but on the educators. Because overall, during this time of pandemic, we have been working with thousands and thousands and thousands of students, but also with professors and teachers. And I think that we have been forgetting that we have to feed the educators also. We have to empower them. We have really to care about them, because they play a crucial role for the society. And I met tons of educators that don't even feel the sense of responsibility for the role they play within the society. So I think that the call, it's perfect, because those are the kind of tools we all aim to have, thinking about the education for the future. But I think that we have to also to care about the educators and to give them new tools to be able to develop more challenge-based opportunity for their students, and to train them not only on skills, but also on values and the spiritual aspects, because we have been training hyper-specialized kids, hyper-specialized, super skilled, they know everything, they know tons of languages, they know to code, they know 3D and whatever. But we have been probably, say, taking out some hours of philosophy and other say kind of trainings that I think are very, very much needed now to understand the complexity we are facing, because now I see they don't have the tools to understand the complexity.
And fascinating, because most recently in the past 20 years, we've heard so much about the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math, and how they are so important, and neglecting the liberal arts and humanities. And like you mentioned today, there seems to be a consensus that it's the humanities that mean that separate people from what the machines can do. And that's why it's important to focus on those humanities.
Compassion, reciprocity, generosity, all of those things need to be in some way taught at every stage.
Fantastic. Yeah. Father Andrea, education?
Two very simple examples. The first one is that I tried a new system for medical examination with a virtual reality. So a student of medicine improve to learn how to produce some examination with a robot, where are uploaded the result of examination of a real people, but you learn to only with a robot. We have some medical doctors that probably they never touch a human body, a real human body. They know everything about medicine, chemistry, physiological, but they never touch a human body. This is the problem. This is the challenge. No? We have perfect robot for education, of medical education, but we must teach also how to approach to a human person with this body, maybe with this wounded body, with this weak body, for example. And the second example is as the form of a question: why there is no one exam, one program for engineers, for mathematicians dedicated to ethical perspectives? Okay, you produce very powerful machine, very powerful systems, but when you are helped in reflecting about the ethical consequences of your products. One of our ideas that we need a commission between humanistic perspective and scientific perspective. Only with this connection, we are able to offer a very powerful and human-centric technology.
Fantastic. So let's move on to our final roundtable for tonight, the Rome Call for AI Ethics Rights. In order for AI to act as a tool for the good of humanity and the planet, we must put the topic of protecting human rights in the digital era at the heart of public debate. To achieve these objectives, we must set out from the very beginning of each algorithm's development with a quote unquote Al Gore ethical vision, i.e. an approach of ethics by design. For this reason, the sponsors of the call express their desire to work together in this context and at a national and international level to promote quote unquote Al Gore ethics, namely the ethical use of AI as defined by the following principles. 1, transparency. In principle, AI systems must be explainable. 2, inclusion. The needs of all human beings must be taken into consideration so that everyone can benefit and all individuals can be offered the best possible conditions to express themselves and develop. 3, responsibility. Those who design and deploy the use of AI must proceed with responsibility and transparency. 4, impartiality. Do not create or act according to bias, thus safeguarding fairness and human dignity. 5, reliability. AI systems must be able to work reliably. 6, security and privacy. AI systems must work securely and respect the privacy of users. These principles are fundamental elements of good innovation, and thereafter are the 5 signatories of the Rome Call document. So, Father Andrea, in the end, it's all about that ethics, like you say, coming back to the church, that this Microsoft, IBM, and the others, they are setting a framework of exactly what that means to make ethical artificial intelligence. Is that it?
Yeah, these 6 words are a very short summary of what we think about an ethical vision about on artificial intelligence. And but at the same time, we discover that if we want to have an a human-centric technology, we must assume our responsibilities. The ethical problems are not in the machines, not in a self-driven cars. No, the ethical problems and the ethical responsibilities are all on our problem. We must accept our responsibilities, and the work made by the Academy, and so they dedicate to involve these big subjects, is finalized to this point. Hey, people, you are the most important subject in this transformation. Please, we must work together to accept our responsibilities. But not you. I don't love this church that you must do something. No, we together, only together, because our society is really complex, only together churches, religions, companies, UN nations, governments, only together we can understand what we can do, what we must do, and only together we can help each other to accept our responsibility. This is a call for responsibility.
Father Andrea,
Not our responsibility first.
So Father Andrea, I believe that when you showed us your smartphone, it was a smartphone made by Apple.
Yeah,
and,
very old, but yes.
Yes, okay. And I believe that Apple and companies like Google and Facebook, they are more synonymous with artificial intelligence than IBM and Microsoft. Why didn't Google, Apple, and Facebook sign the Rome call for AI ethics?
Microsoft and IBM signed the call because the ceremony of signature was the end of a work together 1.5 years long. Because it is not a simple sign, it's not a symbolic sign. We discuss a lot, we work a lot with Microsoft and IBM, and we finalized the work with the signature. And the Academy is really available to work with all the subjects interested in this work. And at the end of this work, we are very happy to offer the opportunity to sign this document, because we think that is a serious document. It's not a simple declaration. We are not interested in a simple declaration. We need to work together. This is the point.
And so Google, Facebook, Apple, they could sign this document in the future?
I hope so.
Understood. Sarah?
Yeah. Why not?
Behind those technologies, there's always people. Behind everything, there's always people. We can say the same thing for the food system. So probably 10 years ago, we couldn't even imagine the big transformation that is happening now. Why? Because those people are understanding the impact on their life at the end. And so I think that this is the first thing. As soon as they will understand what's the impact of their choices and their decision at the massive scale, probably we're gonna have chance to see them on board.
So tell us now, Sarah, in the last minutes, what is the Future Food Institute up to in the future? What are your next steps?
Next step, Earth Day. Earth Day next week. It's important. It's important to not only to celebrate, but to remember why we are celebrating Earth Day. Everything is connected. What we are talking about tonight, what we are gonna eat around the table tonight. And I think it's very crucial nowadays, not only thinking in a human-centered way, but thinking in a human plus life-centered way, human plus nature-centered way. We have to think about prosperity, bringing prosperity for all. And so technologies are crucial to accelerate this transition, but we need to support technology also with a lot of spirituality. And probably one of the rules that everyone can follow is the golden rule. That is probably one of the most basic principle that we can all follow. So Sarah, Future Food Institute is going to be focused on training people, empowering youth, connecting people, breaking the silos. But I think that the fact of coming together around the table and thinking about what we are eating is the starting point, because by eating tonight and choosing what we're gonna eat tonight, we can celebrate our past, we can engage and enjoy the convivium and the fact of sharing food, but also we are preparing for the future.
Father Andrea, last word. Are you having bolognese sauce with crickets tonight?
Absolutely no. But
bravo. I can cook a better bolognese sauce, trust me.
But I have a fortune that my next point is to have a meal with my parish priest, with the other priest of my community, because yes, I'm a lucky man. I have a table where share the lunch, the meal, and also the problems and the thoughts of the days. And I have a table where we can discuss about tomorrow and the future. And this is, I think, the really fortune of my life, and I think also the dream for everybody. We must offer a table to everybody where to eat and to build a fraternity.
Fantastic. Like
Oh,
Sarah
fantastic.
mentioned.
Very big work. We
Fantastic.
must convert ourselves before.
Absolutely. And like we know, for example, that the company comes originally from the Latin with bread, and the idea that two people eating together are able to share much more than just food. Let's take a look at how to stay in touch with Father Andrea. There we have romecall.org. So I believe you can read the entire thing there and even join it, I guess, if you are interested in AI ethics and developing ethics in AI. There it is. So Father Andrea, they can write to you there, info@romecall.org.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So there we have it. Let's take a look now at how to stay in touch with Sarah. We have futurefood.network. So we'll go to contact. Let's see what's there. info@futurefoodinstitute.org. That's how people can stay in touch with you, Sarah?
Yes, definitely.
Wonderful.
Yes. And on
So-
every social media.
Perfect. That's fantastic. So let's take a look at next week. We have on Wednesday, Gene Kellogg, the Merola Opera Program. What do Anna Netrebko, Deborah Voigt, Rolando Villason, and Thomas Hampson have in common? You guessed it, opera. But there's more. They are alumni of San Francisco's Merola Opera Program, a 12-week summer training program for aspiring opera stars. Come welcome Gene Kellogg, Executive Director of Merola, Josh Lovell, a Merola alumnus and singer at the Vienna State Opera, will also join us, together with Professor Niels Moos, Director of the Opera Masters Program of the Music and Arts University of the city of Vienna. As always, all information can be found at www.simeonmoro.com. So, thank you so much to Father Andrea. Thank you so much to Sarah Roversi.
Thank you. Thank you for having us with you
Everybody.
tonight.
So, and thank you very much to Professor Lino Rivera, and most of all to you, our participants, without whom none of this would be worthwhile. So from Vienna, Austria, from the Vatican City State, from Bologna, Italy, from the Bay Area, California, goodbye and see you next week.
Ciao.
Oh.